Wonder why the economy's dead, but they keep taxing people and we don't have any money. And I think the same is going to go for companies come April when the national insurance hike kicks in.
There's more bad news for UK Prime Minister Sir Keir Starmer. In the same week, an Ipsos poll found more than 50% of people feel disappointed.
Your household bills have just silently skyrocketed, while Keir Starmer promised change. Council tax up 5%, water bills surging 26%, and energy costs rising by another 6.4%. That's over £253 added to your annual expenses in just one stroke of legislative pen. The Labour government swore they inherited an economic disaster, yet Britain was the fastest growing economy in the G7. As you struggle to balance your budget this month, Starmer's cabinet jets around on domestic flights while preaching climate action. Something doesn't add up, and we're exposing it all today.
Slightly up, but there's no doubt that the economy is really struggling at the moment, and if there is growth, it's very feeble.
Before we move on, I'd like to ask you a small favour. If you appreciate this content, please take a second to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Over 98% of you watch the videos without subscribing. It costs you nothing, but it makes a huge difference to us. So, did you click the subscribe button? Great, thank you so much. Now back to the video. Here's the triple threat you weren't warned about. While the Starmer government proudly trumpets economic recovery in their public addresses, the average British household is silently hemorrhaging an additional £250 annually through a perfect storm of rising bills.
Pressure on the public finances as a result, and a risk that we get a further round of tax increases and poorly targeted spending cuts later this month.
This isn't some minor adjustment to account for inflation. It's a coordinated assault on your finances that Labour conveniently forgot to mention during their campaign. Look at the numbers. Council tax up by 5%, water bills skyrocketing by a staggering 26%, and energy costs climbing another 6.4%. These aren't abstract percentages. They translate to real money vanishing from working families' bank accounts. The typical household is now paying £19 more in council tax, a whopping £123 additional for water services, and £111 extra on their energy bills annually, all while the government tells you things are improving. Remember Starmer's bold campaign promises? The commitment to ease financial pressures on working families, the pledge to deliver meaningful economic change. Political commentator Christo Fufa didn't mince words when he accused Labour of gaslighting the British public about our economic reality. They're telling you your situation is improving while systematically allowing every essential bill to increase. Fufa stated in a recent interview, "This is classic misdirection." Before the election, Labour's messaging machine worked overtime, with shadow ministers appearing on every news channel, promising relief for squeezed household budgets. Rachel Reeves assured voters that Labour understood the cost of living crisis and would take immediate action to address it. Starmer himself promised a government that works for working people. Yet their actions since taking power tell a completely different story. Perhaps most galling is the government's persistent messaging about wage increases.
There's more bad news for UK Prime Minister Sir Keir Starmer. In the same week, an Ipsos poll found more than 50% of people feel disappointed.
Ministers regularly cite rising pay figures, while conveniently ignoring that these modest gains are being completely obliterated by these stealth bill increases. When your salary increases by 3%, but your essential bills jump by 5 to 26%, you're not getting ahead. You're falling further behind while being told to celebrate. How does Labour justify these increases while simultaneously claiming the economy is improving under their watch?
Wonder why the economy's dead, but they keep taxing people and we don't have any money. And I think the same is going to go for companies come April when the national insurance hike kicks in.
The disconnect is jarring. During his campaign, Starmer explicitly promised to put more money in your pocket and to ensure that working families won't bear the brunt of economic recovery. Now in power, his government is overseeing precisely the opposite, a targeted extraction of funds from those same working families. The foundation of Labour's economic strategy rests on a compelling narrative. They inherited a financial wasteland from the Conservatives that requires drastic action to repair.
What we inherited was insecurity in our economy. We inherited a £22 billion black hole.
But what if this foundation is built on quicksand? The inconvenient truth Starmer's government desperately avoids acknowledging is that Britain actually boasted the fastest growing economy in the G7 when they took office, a reality that fundamentally undermines their doom-laden economic storytelling. This statistical bombshell exposes a troubling question. Are current economic challenges truly inherited or partly manufactured? The debate becomes more nuanced when considering perspectives like commentator JJ Anisionobis, who argues that it's not like they took over this flourishing economy with massive GDP growth. The Tories had burned through 4 prime ministers trying to fix it. Yet this assertion crumbles when confronted with the objective G7 growth data that contradicts the narrative of a struggling economy. Labour's economic sleight of hand becomes even more apparent when examining their role while in opposition. Throughout the pandemic, they enthusiastically supported, and often pushed for more, extensive government spending packages that economists now link directly to our current inflation crisis. Quantitative easing, enormous furlough schemes, and business support measures all received Labour's wholehearted backing. The same policies they now blame for our economic struggles carried their fingerprints from the beginning. This creates an awkward reality. Labour championed economic approaches that helped create the very problems they now cite.
The Prime Minister, Sir Keir Starmer, has said that the government is ready to step in to protect the economy from the impact of US tariffs.
Wages up, inflation down. Mr. Speaker, there's more to do. We're reforming planning and regulation, building the new homes that we need.
As justification for breaking campaign promises, they supported borrowing billions more during COVID and voted consistently for policies that economists warned would fuel inflation. When the Conservative government attempted to rein in spending to address inflation concerns, Labour routinely opposed these measures, calling them austerity and demanding even more public expenditure. Meanwhile, potential economic solutions go unexplored. Nigel Farage has repeatedly highlighted how properly executed Brexit opportunities could unleash competitive advantages for British businesses. These possibilities, combined with the potential benefits of improved trade relations with the US under Trump, represent paths to growth that Labour seems determined to ignore as they cling to their crisis narrative.
I mean, Donald Trump has potentially put us on the brink of potentially a global recession, trillions wiped off the US stock markets and US businesses.
Perhaps most revealing is the stunning hypocrisy displayed by Energy Secretary Ed Miliband's department. While preaching climate action and net zero commitments, his department spent over £40,000 on domestic UK flights in Labour's first 6 months, exceeding the £40,279 spent by the Conservatives in the first half of 2024. This "do as I say, not as I do" approach perfectly encapsulates Labour's broader economic strategy. So where does this leave the ordinary British taxpayer? Trapped in a cycle of ever-increasing bills while Labour shifts blame onto predecessors for problems they helped engineer. Their pattern is unmistakable. Promise relief, deliver pain, condemn practices they themselves engage in.
The world is changing fast, and we need an entirely new approach to our economy and our energy security.
Perhaps Nigel Farage's vision offers an alternative worth considering. Speaking from Clacton, he highlighted how America's 10% tariff on British goods, compared to the EU's 20%, could be leveraged advantageously.
EU 20%, Vietnam 46%, Switzerland 32%, when we've only got tariff levels at the moment of 10%, albeit...
His call to do Brexit properly by reducing EU regulations and lowering worldwide tariffs might be the economic reset Britain needs. The fundamental question remains, beyond raising your bills, does Labour actually have a plan?